Namaste, Jai Bharat. I happen to hear, see and watch a video, YouTube, which speaks about work ethics. And interestingly, the person who was narrating, I forgot his name, was comparing the workers' work ethics. That's our Bharatiya workers and Pakistani workers. He was focusing more on the Middle East, the Arabian Gulf countries. The differences between the work ethics of Pakistani workers and Bharatiya workers. Now, then he was trying to make statistics and give a narrative that there's no loyalty absolutely on the part of the Pakistani workers. They're not loyal, they're not committed to the work, and they're not very honest, and wanted to get the best of the thing without contributing much. That's a gist of his narration. Then he also gave a list of people in jail, comparing many Middle East countries, especially was speaking, and also was speaking of some European countries where maximum people in jail are originally from Pakistan. What is the difference between this work ethics, honesty? This is what I thought of speaking. That's why should a person, how a person gets controlled within. This is important. See, if there's no one is watching you, and if there is nothing watching you, then how would you behave? Is an archetypal, is a classic question. Then, in a situation where no one is observing you, then how would you behave? Shall be your original kind of character, behavior, be it in work, be it while you walking on this road, or be it how you behave with others, etc., etc., etc. Now, when no one is watching, how would you behave? And when someone is watching, how would you behave? When someone is watching and someone is seeing your activities, then you are bound by external forces, whatever, to go between two lines. And even there, one violates lines for whatever reasons, and then he gets into jail. Otherwise, once a person does not violate these two lines drawn, he doesn't get into trouble. But when he violates, he gets into trouble. That's how you find people in jail. Now, why there is nothing? That is, in other words, let's think of a situation where some kind of inner corrective mechanism should be there in a person. If there is some kind of a correcting mechanism is within a person, then he wouldn't naturally do mistakes, or he wouldn't do mistakes at all. He would go by the correcting mechanism, because the moment there's something that he wants to do wrong, then suddenly that correcting mechanism corrects you, saying that this is not appropriate, this is not appropriate, this you cannot do, you shall not do, or you're not expected to do. So this kind of a correcting mechanism, if it is working within a person, then he naturally and normally doesn't make inappropriate decisions and make mistakes. But this inner correcting mechanism does not exist in people whom you accuse of not having work ethics, commitment, honesty, integrity, all those things. This doesn't have. Now, how does this correcting mechanism originates in a common person's life in any society? I would speak about my nation, Bharat, that we have a concept of Kutumba, that's family. And the Kutumba, I have already told some time back, is a first brick of a whole structure of society. Family, Kutumba. And the family, how is it functioning? The family is integrated to one another. Members of family, they have commitment to one another. They have been taught to do do's and don'ts they discuss, or it had been given through in tradition through heritage as hereditary of things that we do and things that we don't do. There are people, I heard them many times, you see, in my family we can't afford to do these things. And these families, people are like this. So we can make a fairly good judgment by looking at the person's family about the character of a member of that family who must be very young. That person belonging to that family should have these characters. Now, that's the strength of family unity. And of course, the Sanskriti of Bharat is based on the integration, the way a family is integrated. The members coexist. whether it is nuclear family or joint family. But joint families are not very present these days because of practical reasons. People go far from places to work and live, and in the past people used to be living in joint family, which is a different concept. That doesn't mean that we don't have joint families even today. We have joint families even now, which are functioning very appropriately. Someday back, I have seen a joint family living on they in a very serious metro city like Calcutta. They have hired a full floor. Those days they bought, rather, not hired, and there are three families living along with the parents. Three sons. So basically, they're not Bengalis. They're from Rajasthan, and they're business people into tea business, if I'm not wrong. I visited for a different purpose. I've been there with interacting with them for a different purpose. And the three are married. They have their independent units in the same floor, but then have common kitchen. They have common workspace. They have common discussion space. They have common puja room. Everyone comes to the common puja room, etc., etc. So this is just a glimpse of a Nakate family. Then they will have a lot of gives and takes among themselves, brothers, etc. And the father is there. He is not doing anything, but he is correcting figure. Must have been the case that the business originally belonged to him. So the family makes you integrated. Then, above all, we have a transcendental longing towards the beyond. That's essentially with the Hindus per se. And that from there we have a concept of dharma, and it is simply given in a very directed sense to everyone living in this nation, that this is dharma, this is adharma, and this dharma adharma distinctions are not very clear, but each one understands what is dharma, what is not dharma, or what is dharma, what is adharma. They are not stipulated, they are not written down, but they are given by the house family to begin with, from the schools and from the society, from the elders of society. We have all this hierarchy in the society. When you start smoking in your younger ages, you don't smoke in front of elders who happen to know you or your family. You just hide. And the person who sees that, understands that you smoke, then he also understands that you are hiding, so he doesn't look at you and he walks away. This is a kind of behavior that we find. At least in my younger days, have found these things. Not that this boy is afraid of that man, but then he has an inherent respect towards someone who is elder to you, someone who talks to his father on equal terms, or his grandfather on his equal terms. So that respect automatically goes to them. So many things put together becomes dharma. It's an omni vehicle with all kinds of righteousness put together. It's difficult to translate dharma into another language. Any attempt to translate dharma into a different language becomes reductionistic. So this dharma controls you. This thing doesn't control, this thing doesn't function in the Pakistani society, because that person was comparing Pakistani workforces with Bharatiya workforces. It doesn't function because they have been let loose. They are completely focused to some kind of imagined afterlife, after death life. This is the whole thing that leads them. They have been programmed to think in terms of post-death life, that's after death life, which has got a lot of rhetorics and glories and stories told, and these people believe them. And to that, and then there's a contradiction that whatever is forbidden here by their norms, religious norms, are permitted in after death situation. So that itself is a contradiction, that once that is provided, the minority, someone could ask a question and get into difficulties. And then their families, unfortunately, they have this kind of a interfamily marital relationships that itself destroys the fineries of a family, the softness of a family, the tenderness of human relations. That itself destroys, because they have cross cousin marriages. Now then they have to be in one family, and the cross cousins marriages is possible. Then there is real physical relations are not really forbidden. So that is a very loose kind of a society where people can go to any extent. I'm just wondering, people can go to any extent. I'm not saying that people do go to any extent, but then there is possibility that people can go to any extent. That the stories that comes across indicates in that direction, which is not very good to speak on. It's actually nasty, so I wouldn't like to speak about that. So this kind of disintegrated existence, then in one word, I can conclude that for such societies, morality is lack of opportunity. Morality is lack of opportunity. Given a chance, they would do anything. They can't do anything. So you can't expect them to be loyal, because for them that's right. For them that's fine. For them it's something like marrying multiple ladies, at least 4 up to this choice. That's normal with them. That's normal. That's nothing abnormal. There's nothing wrong. So they don't understand the concept of this is not appropriate. So all things put together, it's a question of culture, as you speak in English, but then I would use the word Sanskriti. It's a kind of Sanskriti that makes you, controls you, guides you, and patterns you and programs you from within. And that comes from Dharma, and Dharma is supported by your faith system. That's your faith system should be not simply believing in deities, but your sense of belonging to the transcendental, as you are ultimately not really different from what is the transcendental. That's kind of philosophy that is led by the Hindu. That's a kind of philosophy that pushes the Hindu Dharma forward. We call it technically a Advaita principle in Sanskrit, and then of course maybe you can get it translated into English as the unqualified monism. There is only one reality, which is monism, not monotheism. Monotheism is belief in one so-called God. Here it's not God, it's a reality with a lot of ways of explaining it that is currently explained. So we shall meet again with some other thought. Namaste. Jai Bharat, Jai Sri Ram.